Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you from inside the Fulmination Content Creator Test Server with part 2 of our look at the missing Command Battlecruisers in EVE Echoes. In our last video, we took a look at the Prophecy and the Myrmidon variants. So that's the Prophecy Command and the Prophecy II Command, the Myrmidon Command and the Myrmidon II Command. Those are, of course, the drone Command Battlecruisers. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the Cyclone and the Ferox versions. So railguns and missiles abound. We're going to have a look at what these ships are, what they do, and just give you a brief understanding of what their current stats are. Of course, this is the Fulmination Content Creator Test Server, so everything you see should be taken with a pinch of salt. These are unreleased ships, and thus subject to change. If they do change between now and release, well, yeah, this is my kind of warning just to expect that as a possibility. Now, beyond this as well, it is worth making sure that you are up to date on what we're talking about in regard to Command Burst modules. We've talked about these in both the Command Burst Destroyer videos, and I did a video on some information we had recently on Reddit about the Command Bursts themselves. So again, I'll put links to those in the description down below, and I have sort of grouped all of this Command Bursty stuff together into a nice little playlist for you all, just to make sure you're fully up to date on all the information that we have so far for these things. So if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it, sub to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, ding the notification bell to never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section down below what ships and topics you'd like to see me cover in future videos. If you do want to go the extra mile and be extremely awesome to help support this channel, you can either donate across on Patreon, or indeed we have a Redbubble merchandise store. If you've ever fancied representing this channel, or the Catskull Academy, or the Catskull Cartel, or whatever, you can check out that on various things like t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, notebooks, you name it, it's all there. Anyway folks, that all said and done, then let's jump right in. We're going to start off with the Ferox Command, and then we'll move on to the Cyclone Command after that. Do check the timestamps in the description below if there's a particular ship you want to get your greasy eyes straight onto right away. Starting with the Caldari line of Command Battlecruisers, then of course we have the Ferox Command. This is a Tech 8 ship currently on Fulmination Content Creator Test Server. Obviously we're going to be comparing this to the Tech 7 Ferox. It also appears that there are some graphical sort of issues with some of these. They might be using skins from other ships, because the Ferox Command that you see here on screen now, as absolutely amazing as it looks, is not the same as we see on its actual icon here in game. You can see it's a much more sort of sandy yellow colour here in its inventory. Anyway, let's jump back and actually have a look at this. I do really enjoy the Ferox line of ships. They look so cool. Like, they almost look Minmatar in their own sort of unique, badass way, which I really like. Obviously, it's clearly a Caldari ship, but anyway, it just kind of doesn't look out of place amongst a Minmatar fleet. Anyway, so let's have a look at the attributes and fittings, and as I said, we are going to be comparing this to the Tech 7 variant of the Ferox, the standard Ferox itself. So the Ferox Command, its fitting profile, we've got one drone tube that launches small or medium drones, 6 high slots, 4 mid slots, which is one more than the Tier 7 Ferox, and 4 low slots, which is one fewer than the Tier 7 Ferox. So we've gained a mid slot, but at the expense of a low slot, which leads me to believe that Command Burst modules are likely to be mid slot modules rather than high slots. In EVE Online, they are high slots, and that's led a lot of people to say, well, that's where they should be. Yes, but Energy Neutralizers and Energy Nosferatus were also high slots in EVE Online. They've been moved to mid here in EVE Echoes, so I imagine that's where we're going to see the Command Burst modules put as well. It also makes sense then to give the additional mid slot rather than an additional high slot. Obviously in EVE Online as well, we do have this thing where you can have, say, 6 high slots, but only 5 of them can be outfitted with turrets, which forces your final slot then to be something like a rocket launcher, or scanner probe launchers, or things like Nosferatus and Neutralizers, or Command Burst modules. That doesn't exist in EVE Echoes. If you've got 6 high slots like we have here on the Ferox Command, you can put 6 turrets in it, and it's just as simple as that, as long as you've got enough power grid. So we're getting that additional mid slot, but we are losing a low slot, and that low slot could come at the cost of things like propulsion, weapon upgrades, or indeed tanking modules. Speaking of tanking though, our defences have gone up. Here we're looking at 25,901 on the Ferox Command. That's an increase over the Ferox of 23,576. That's about 2,000 HP more than the Ferox had, and this is a fairly tanky shield ship. I mean, heck, you can see straight away 9,324 HP on the shields alone. This is one of those ships that just has shields for days, and as long as you can keep the shield boosters running, you're going to stay alive for a nice long time. So the loss of a low slot there ultimately shouldn't be the end of everything. It's not like you're necessarily losing a lot of tank here, because you might end up finding that the passive tank that you get from the upgrade is actually worth the loss of the low slot. I don't know. Or maybe you could just fit the additional mid slot with something like a large group shield booster and sort of have that for the extra tank. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and how you would fit this in the comment section down below. Power grid, again, is a fairly substantial increase. We've gone from 988 up to 1,024. Nice little upgrade there. This does insinuate that command bursts are going to be fairly power grid intensive, and certainly the information we've seen so far does seem to corroborate that. They look like they're going to be power grid intensive, and it also looks like they might use both capacitor and fuel, which makes sense considering how blasted powerful these things actually are. Speaking of capacitors, that's gone up too. We're at 3171, up from 3065, so it's a nice little boost there. Interestingly enough though, comparative to the Prophecy and the Myrmidon command, they actually lost capacitor when you went from the Prophecy to the Prophecy command, or the Myrmidon to the Myrmidon command. Here with the Ferox to the Ferox command, it is a straight up increase. As we go a little bit further down, you'll see the signature radius, though, has increased in size. We've gone from 257.7 up to 270.2. Ultimately, Caldari ships tend to have a large signature radius. It's all the shield boosting systems and that they have there, just makes them show up on scanners really, really large, which means they're fairly easy to hit. You're not going to be speed tanking with one of these anytime soon. Certainly not with a flight velocity of 219. Now, that is still a massive increase over the Ferox's 177, and again, I don't get why the Command Battlecruisers have these insanely fast flight velocities. Please, NetEase, get rid of that flight velocity. There is no reason that a Caldari battlecruiser should be flying at nearly 220 meters per second. That is just too fast. We do have a fairly solid scan resolution here of 202, that's up from 166. Our mass has indeed gone up from 13.25 million to 14 million, and our inertia modifier has gone up as well from 0.42 to 0.05. Now, this means 0.5. Sorry. This means that the agility rating of the previous Ferox was 5.565. Here on the Command, it's 7. Now, a higher agility rating means that your ship is much more cumbersome. It's slower to maneuver. It takes a longer time to realign. It's going to struggle to hold orbits. It takes longer to accelerate, decelerate, that kind of thing. So you can see the difference between the Ferox of 5.565 and the Command of 7.0 is a big difference there. This is a much more cumbersome ship. Now, if we were to have a look at the roll bonuses here, you'll find that these are actually fairly similar across the board to the standard Ferox. We've still got the 25% medium railgun optimal range, we still have the 25% medium railgun accuracy fall off. Heck, if we go down to Advanced Battlecruiser Command, we're still getting an 8% increase to medium railgun damage, a 10% increase to medium railgun optimal range, and a 5% increase to scan resolution. That's exactly the same there as you would get trained properly into the Ferox. The only difference here on the skills then is that we have information command bonus. So our command bursts here are aimed mainly around information command bursts, with a 3% increase in their effectiveness per level, that's 15% at full training, and a 2% increase to shield command burst strength. Now, just as a quick refresher there, information command burst strengths are the ones that we don't actually know anything about yet. In EVE Online, they're based around things like scan resolution, energy Nosferatus and neutralizers, that kind of thing. We haven't seen what they're going to do in EVE Echoes yet. They were not one of the ones that was visible in that leak, so more information on that when we get it. The shield command bursts, however, these we do know about, and their sort of prototype version that we've seen in EVE Echoes seems to insinuate that these will reduce the amount of capacitor that shield boosters use. It will increase every nearby ship's shield resistances, and it will also increase the amount of HP that every nearby ship has on its shield as well, and you'll be getting a 10% increase to that at full training here, with a 25% increase of the command burst effective range. It's worth pointing out briefly, we don't know if command bursts are going to be like, say, group shield boosters, where it's just you're in range or you're not. If you're in the bubble, you get the boost. If you're out of the bubble, you get nothing. Or whether it's going to be one of those, like some of the E-War modules, where you have an optimal range and an accuracy fall-off, so you could be getting the full effect at a certain range. If you're a little bit beyond that, you still get some of the effect, but only 50% or whatever. We don't know if that's going to be the case with command bursts. Certainly, there's arguments to be made for either. I think it's more interesting to have it with accuracy fall-off and optimal range, but at the same time it's also a lot simpler and a lot more straightforward just to have it as a direct bubble. This is a pretty cool looking ship, and for the most part it's a direct upgrade over the Ferox Command. The fact that it loses a little bit of inertia and mass, what it loses in agility it massively makes up for in its flight velocity. It then gets additional tank. Yeah, it loses the low slot, but I don't think that's a big problem here with the Ferox. The signature radius is a little bit larger as well, but again, you're going to be hit at 257.7, so going up to 270 doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not like people are suddenly hitting you when they weren't before. So, to me, the fact that the stat profile is almost identical and then everything else across the board is pretty much an upgrade, or at least everything that counts is an upgrade, plus you're going to get those bonuses there to the command bursts. To me, this just makes the Ferox Command very much an upgrade directly. There are some things that you might argue that no, actually I prefer to have the Ferox because I want that additional low slot, but for the most part I think you'll find that upgrading to the Ferox Command is just going to be a straight up increase. In real terms of direct upgrade, though, we then of course come to the Ferox II Command. This is a Tech 10 variant of the Ferox, and I love the look of this one, seriously. That sort of dark blue coloration with the slate grey detailing and the sort of the white little picants here and there. That's a really cool looking ship, like genuinely, I'm really impressed with that. I am curious to know, though, that appears to be the Mordu's Legion iconography on the side of it. So was this designed by Mordu's Legion and then, like, given to the Caldari Navy? What on earth's happening there? Oh, and yeah, by the way, speaking of Mordu's Legion, have you heard the news? We now know when those are going to be coming, and kind of how we're going to get them. Yeah, check out my channel for more news on that. We did a video on it. Anyway, so the Ferox II Command. Let's compare this both to the Tech 7 and the Tech 8 Ferox Command. So, first of all, our fitting profile. 1 drone tube launching small or mediums, 6 high slots, 4 mids, 5 lows, and 3 of each of the rigs. The 4 mids is the same as we had on the Ferox Command, and the 5 lows is the same as we had on the Ferox. So we've got 1 more mid slot than the Ferox, and we've got 1 more low slot than the Command. Direct upgrade. Defences have now shot all the way up to 30,384. Very tanky amount of hit points there. That is a direct upgrade, again over both the Ferox and the Command. That's 7,000 more HP than the Ferox, and almost 5,000 more HP than the Ferox Command. So that's a big increase there. And yeah, I know Tech 10 feels like a long time off, but we will all eventually get there, and this looks a very exciting ship there, just for its defences alone. The power grid has gone up again from 1024 to 1124, so we've got 100 additional megawatts, and remember, of course, if you're training into battlecruiser engineering, every additional megawatt you get is then also amplified by your engineering skill, so it is a cumulative increase there. What looks like only 100 additional megawatts ends up being like, if you get an additional 10%, that's now 110 megawatts. If you're getting an additional... you get the idea. You get the idea. It expands out explosively. Our capacitor bank as well, massive increase here, 3,694. We can leave a lot of modules running on this thing and stay capacitor stable fairly comfortably, which is interesting for a battlecruiser because capacitor stability has always been one of the battlecruiser's weak points. Here, it looks like the Ferox II Command just laughs in the face of capacitor instability and says, you know what, we're just gonna keep everything switched on. Who cares about energy efficiency, right? A little bit further, our signature radius now drops, whereas the Ferox Command was an increase in signature radius over the Ferox. This one is actually smaller than the original Ferox at 243.9, but again, it's not a massive drop, so you're not going to suddenly be speed tanking. It's nice to have. It means you take a couple of seconds extra to be locked onto, but yeah, it's not huge. The flight velocity, on the other hand, is huge. 226 meters per second! There are Caldari cruisers that don't go 226 meters per second. That's an insanely fast battlecruiser, and it has no place existing in my game, please NetEase. Scanner resolution of 206 again, that is a direct increase over both of the previous ships, so we're getting a nice fast-ish lock-on there for a battlecruiser. Our mass and inertia, 14 million kilograms of mass, 0.48 inertia modifier. That gives us a agility rating here of 6.72. So it's better than the Ferox Command, but it's still not quite as good as the Ferox's 5.565. Means it's slightly more cumbersome than the Ferox, but with that flight velocity and the additional tank, plus the additional slots, power grid, etc., who really cares? Then let's move into the trait description. Again, we've got 25% increase to medium railgun optimal range and accuracy fall-off, and we've still got the 5% scan resolution and 10% medium railgun optimal range. What's changed this time is that we now have a 12% medium railgun damage rather than 8% beforehand, so we're finally getting a DPS increase. This is a weird point for me, because if you remember on the Prophecy Command and the Myrmidon Command, even though they lost a drone tube, they went from 5 drone tubes down to 4, they did gain overall a net increase in DPS. The Ferox and the Ferox Command, there's no difference in their DPS. They have the same high slots and the exact same skill output, so whereas the Prophecy Command and the Myrmidon Command are higher DPS than their Tech 7 variants, the Ferox wasn't. It takes until Tech 10 here for the Ferox II Command to get that additional 4% per level there on medium railgun damage. This means you've gone then all the way from 40% additional medium railgun damage to 60% medium railgun damage at full training, and that's quite a big buff there. We also then get again the Information Command Burst Strength, Shield Command Burst Strength, and Command Burst Effective Range, but rather than a 10% on the information and a 15% on the information and a 10% on the shield, it is now a 25% on the information and 15% on the shield burst, so you're going to be getting an even bigger shield Command Burst Strength. This, to me, again, is slightly confusing. I do think that the Ferox II Command, well, the Ferox Command in general, should actually be getting Shield as their major command burst boost, and having information as the second one, because shields are what Caldari are known for. Shield tech is their thing. I suppose though scanning technology is also very much within the range of like the Caldari shipyards. I mean, if you look at like Lidai and the amount of crazy sensor arrays and adapters they did for the Griffin line of ships, then yeah, okay, maybe information is the Caldari thing. Who knows? But either way, 100%, this is the be-all and the end-all of the Ferox line. Like, unless you're looking at the Ferox II Guardian because you want to be a Guardian ship, the Ferox II Command is going to just be flat out better. That's before you than any other Ferox. That's before you include the ability to use the command bursts. If you were to ignore the command bursts, this is still the best iteration of the Ferox there is for solo play. The fact that the command bursts then come into effect as well means that you're going to be highly sought after if you're in a fleet too. Awesome. Very excited about this ship. It looks amazing, and it just looks like it's going to fly as amazing too. Let's have a look then at the Minmatar Tech 8 Cyclone Command, and of course we're going to be comparing this to the Tech 7 Cyclone. Now the Cyclone's a really cool looking ship. It to me looks like a battering ram in space, and of course the standard Tech 7 variant is in the typical Minmatar sort of rust brown. Here the Cyclone Command is in this badass slate grey, black and metal finish. This just looks badass. It's like a covert ops Cyclone, which is just in itself a really cool concept. These things hit like trucks, and now we have the ability to make them look as badass as they feel when they punch you. Anyway, let's have a look at the attributes and fittings, and again, as I said, I am going to be comparing this to the Tech 7 Cyclones. First of all, our fitting profile. We have 1 drone tube launching small or mediums, 6 high slots, 4 mid slots, which is an increase over the Cyclone, and 4 low slots, which is a reduction of 1 from the Cyclone. So we're getting an additional mid slot at the cost of a low slot. That means we lose a little bit of our sort of like tanky modules, or perhaps if you were using things like damage, like weapon upgrade modules, that kind of thing, you may have to sacrifice one of those here on the Cyclone Command to make up for the fact that you've lost a low slot. Again, the additional mid slot here does to me suggest that actually we could find that our command burst modules and Eve Echoes are going to be mid slots. Like whereas Nosferatus and Neutralizers were high slots in EVE Online, and they've moved to mid here for EVE Echoes, I imagine the command bursts are also going to be moving to those mid slots. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion so far. In regards to our defences, the original Cyclone had 24,551, here we're all the way up at 26,972. 2,500 additional HP is not to be sniffed at, especially on a ship like the Cyclone. We then have a solid power grid that's gone from 708 up to 735, with a capacitor bank of 2,504, which is an increase over the standard Cyclone's 2,421. It's just nice to have. It means if you are running shield boosters and things in your low slots, they're not quite as, they don't have as much impact on your capacitor. Our signature radius has increased from 202.3 to 212.2, which means you are a bigger target, you're easier to lock onto, and you're going to be easier to hit, but it's not a huge problem, especially when you look at this frankly insane flight velocity. Why? 214 meters per second on the standard Cyclone was pretty nippy for a battlecruiser. 264 meters per second here on the Cyclone Command is frankly insanity. There are cruisers and destroyers that don't go this quick. Why does the Cyclone Command need 260? Oh, why? Please, NetEase, fix that. There is no reason that a battlecruiser should be going that quick. Our mass and inertia, we've got 12.8 mass, 12.8 million kilograms of mass, which has gone up from 12.4, and our inertia modifier has gone from 0.48 to 0.53. This means that our agility rating has gone from 5.952 up to 6.784, meaning that the Cyclone Command, as much as it is faster and tankier, is also ever so slightly less agile. I say ever so slightly. It's like 0.8 less agile, 0.8 million agility rating less agile. So it is going to take longer to speed up and slow down. It's going to struggle with orbits comparatively to the Tech 7 Cyclone. It's an interesting sort of situation here. We get boosts across the board, and we're almost a categorical upgrade over the Cyclone with the Cyclone Command, other than that loss of the low slot. The agility rating also just is, it's not quite as good as the Cyclone, but whether or not that matters is kind of up to you. When we come to our roles and skills here, you'll see that these are exactly the same as the Cyclone to begin with. We still have 25% medium missile torpedo velocity, we're also getting the 7.5% increase to shield booster amount, the 5% faster missile torpedo activation time, and the 5% increase to medium missile torpedo explosion velocity. This, to me, has always been one of those things that works quite nicely with torpedoes, because we're going to be firing them faster, and you're getting the better explosion velocity on the torpedoes as well. Means you can do a lot of damage with the Cyclone, get up close and personal in a brawling fit with some torpedoes going as quickly as possible and just bombard them. You become a torpedo Gatling gun, basically. Certainly the Cyclone Command seems to be geared towards that same kind of playstyle. Whether or not the loss of the low slot is going to change that, its effectiveness, well, I don't really fly Cyclones. My battlecruiser alt is heavily skilled into Hurricanes, not so much the Cyclones. I am beginning to work on those medium missile skills, so I will try it, but ultimately, if you're running sort of a torpedo build on the Cyclone, then you might find the Cyclone Command is better, it might be worse. I don't know how sort of the low slot configuration there is really going to work. Let me know. Otherwise, though, we then get the massive increase here of the ability for the shield commands to actually do something. Now, of course, we can fit command bursts on the standard Cyclone, but here on the Cyclone Command, they do more. So we've got basically the same skills across the board. We've got those same missiles skills, the same shield mount skills, etc., etc. But what we're now also getting is the shield command burst strength, skirmish command burst strength, and command burst effective range. 15% better shield command bursts, 10% better skirmish command bursts, and 25% better range on them. Is this a direct upgrade? It's not as clear-cut as the Prophecy and the Myrmidon. Those two, I would argue, are just straight-up upgrades for a solo player. If you're flying a Prophecy or a Myrmidon, it's worth going up into the Prophecy command or the Myrmidon command. Here with the Cyclone, it's that low slot configuration. The fact that you've lost the low slots in a ship that is arguably aiming to get up close and personal can be a problem. I don't know if the additional tankiness there on the shields and armour, etc. makes up for the fact that you've lost a low slot, or if the additional mid slot makes up for that, because I suppose you could now have things like Nosferatus in there to help yourself be a bit more capacitor stable. You could put group shield boosters in there and use that as a way of making up for the loss of the low slot. I don't know. To me, this looks like it could be, it's sort of a minor upgrade at worst, and sort of a solid upgrade at best would be my way of looking at it. Then we have the Cyclone II Command, and this is where things start to get really, really beasty. Again, this is a Tech 10 ship, sorry, so it's going to take a while for us to, sort of reach and unlock and be able to use even once it's added to the game, but my goodness, it is a powerful, powerful ship. Not only that, I actually really like the colour scheme on this one. This sort of brass coppery finish to it is really cool. It's not your typical Minmatar rust. That metallic sort of finish is just really, really cool, and I think makes the Cyclone II Command really stand out quite nicely. But looking at its attributes and fittings then, and again we're going to be comparing this to the Cyclone and to the Cyclone Command. We now have one drone tube launching small or medium drones, still got the 6 high slots, we still have the same 4 mid slots as the Cyclone Command had, but we now get that 5th low slot that the Cyclone had back. So we've got all of the good things about the Cyclone and all of the good things that the Cyclone Command rolled into that same fitting profile. We get the additional mid slot that the Command had and the additional low slot that the Cyclone had. That is a really, really powerful upgrade right there. We then have a bigger power grid, 814 megawatts over the 735 of the Command and 708 of the Cyclone. Our capacitor bank is madly increased as well. Remember, it was 2,421 on the Cyclone, 2,504 on the Cyclone Command. It is now 2,974 here on the Cyclone II Command. That's Caldari's ship kind of capacitor bank there, which is a really useful thing on a ship like this. It means we've got a lot of power grid and a lot of capacitor to work with. Our defences have shot right up. The Cyclone has always been a fairly tanky battlecruiser. Now though, we had 24,551 on the Cyclone, 26,972 on the Command. The II Command here gets 31,640. That's an insanely large tank there. The fact that we've got the 5th low slot back as well means this is just going to be a very tanky ship. Our signature radius has dropped lower than the original Cyclone, which was 202.3, we're now at 191.5, which again doesn't mean you're suddenly going to be able to speed tank, but it means it takes a little bit longer for enemies to lock onto you. We then have a frankly stupid flight velocity of 273 meters per second. That is just insane. I'm not going to ramble on at this. 273 meters per second on a battlecruiser. That says it all. Scan resolution has gone up to 242, it was 196 on the Cyclone, 238 on the Command, and 242 here on the Cyclone II Command. That's nice, it's above average for a battlecruiser, and it gives us a decent lock speed onto enemy ships. Again, very useful if we're going to be brawling, because obviously the enemy ships are going to be right up in our grill already. We want to be able to lock onto them quickly and start hitting them as fast as we can, so that it's not going to have, too long of them hitting you before you can start applying anything back at them. Then, in regards to our mass and inertia, we've still got the 12.8 million kilograms of mass, but our inertia has dropped to 0.51, which gives us an agility of 6.528. That's slightly lower than the agility of the Command, but it is still a little bit higher than the Cyclone. It's kind of halfway between the two. It's not as agile as the Cyclone, but it's more agile than the Cyclone Command, and again, with a ship this size, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Once we move into the roll bonuses though, we've still got that 25% increase to medium missile torpedo velocity, but now our skills down here have increased. It's still a 5% increase to the torpedo explosion velocity, it's still a 7.5% increase to the shield booster amount. I think anything more than that, you're going to have a ship that just never dies, but we then go from a 5% faster activation time, 25% faster activation time at full training of 5, to a 7% faster activation time, which is 35% faster cycle time. This means those medium torpedoes, if you're using them, suddenly are rattling off at an astonishing speed. Again, you can go for things like rapids or like the long-range medium missiles, but on torpedoes, you'll find that the cycle time there is just insane, and the amount of damage you can smack an enemy ship within a short period of time is frankly terrifying. Then under our command burst skills here, we go from 3% shield and 2% skirmish to 5% shield and 3% skirmish. So that's rather than 15% shield, we're now at 25% better shield command burst, and rather than a 10% skirmish command, it's now a 15% skirmish. Remember, skirmish command bursts are the ones that excite me personally the most. most. These are the ones that reduce the signature radius of every one that's hit. They also increase the agility, so decrease your agility rating, so you're going to have a better agility, you're going to speed up and slow down faster and maintain a better orbit. Plus you get an additional bonus from your micro warp drives and your afterburners, plus your scramblers, your disruptors, and your stasis webifiers all get additional range too. The skirmish command bursts just look so much fun and really, really powerful on some of these ships. The shield command burst gives you additional shield HP to everyone who it hits, increases everyone's shield resistances to everyone it hits, and also makes their shield boosters more capacitor efficient, which is always going to be a nice thing to have as well. And 25% better burst, well, it just means you're going to be wanted by a fleet. The Cyclone II Command is 100% a direct upgrade over the Cyclone and the Cyclone Command, which makes sense. This is a Tech 10 battlecruiser. It's a while before we can fly these things, but my goodness, this one excites even me. This is a powerful ship, and I can't wait to see the sheer amount of damage that this can kick out when it's got all of those command bursts and everything else on it running there. That is an exciting time, and I can't wait to see this, and hopefully this is all coming in May. Fingers crossed. I could be wrong, it could be further out, but they've said that new ships and new modules are coming in the May update. Hopefully, could be these ones. So there we have it, the Cyclone Command and the Ferox Command ships. That finishes off our little series here, looking at the different Command destroyers and the Command Battlecruisers, hopefully coming soon to EVE Echoes. These are some supremely cool ships. The Command Burst modules genuinely excite me. Their use in solo play is already pretty cool, but as soon as you start putting these into a fleet situation, they really add a lot of versatility to the game, and it's one of those things that if you're sitting there going, hang on, our fleet battles feel a bit sort of samey and a bit sort of like not much is going on, wait until command bursts are added. This really is a game changer when it comes to fleet-based combat, both for PvE and for PvP, and these are some supremely cool and supremely powerful ships. I hope you guys are as excited by these as I am. Like, seriously, I am pant-wettingly excited about these Command Burst modules being added to the game, specifically for the destroyers, but I do fly battlecruisers as well on my secondary character, so it'll be nice to have those there as well. So I'm really looking forward to these because they affect both of my characters in a really cool way, and I think they add a lot to the game. Anyway, that's just my thoughts and opinions. We've now had a look at all of these different Command Battlecruisers, and if you haven't already checked out the Command Destroyer video and the information we have about Command Burst modules, take this opportunity to do so. Get an idea of what is coming here. Fingers crossed these are coming in the May update. It's not guaranteed. No one at NetEase has confirmed anything here. Just we know that these files are lurking, these ships and modules are lurking around in the game files. NetEase has said that there are new ships on the way, and there are new modules coming in the May update. That to me could be the Command Destroyers and the Command Battlecruisers here, which would just be, oh, it'd be amazing. It would be super amazing. The May update with those, yeah, I'm making that pun again and again and again. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this one right the way to the end. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, happy sailing and see you in New Eden.